Welcome back everyone. Hi, if you're new, I'm Tori, and today I wanted to do an update just about how August has been going so far, chat about the books that I have read, that I'm currently reading, and then just also let you know what is on the horizon for the rest of the month. I don't know how long this is going to be, but I do have a lot of books that I want to get through, so I hope you enjoyed this video and let's get into it. So first I'm gonna start with my current reads. I'm currently reading The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. I really hope it is not too early to say this, but this book is so good so far. I'm on page 86, so almost 100 pages in. I am loving this. I'm really praying this book does not go downhill. So we have our main character, Von Valt, and he is acting as a justice on behalf of the Empire, but he is also a detective. He brings down the sentences and he travels around the Empire, especially the outer regions of the Empire, just to make sure the laws are being upheld, the religion is being followed by the people on the outskirts, but he's also traveling with a really small court. And the book is being told from the perspective of Von Valt's clerk. So far, that has just been an amazing narrative choice. It's like she's presenting Von Valt in this really objective way, and you almost have this distance from Von Valt as a character. It's really good, and it's just this really immersive and just really natural world building that's happening because the Empire went through this massive expansion over the years and just conquest of all the different nations that have been around the Empire, and so there's a lot of that going on in this book. And so you're just learning so many intriguing things about the politics of the Empire, just how nationalistic they are and in certain ways. Really, the story kicks off when the court finds themselves in this really small town city, and they discover that one of the noble ladies of this town has been murdered. And I mean, at its core, this is turning into like a detective murder mystery kind of fantasy story. This is so good. I'm loving the world building. I'm loving the characters, and just being able to see Von Valt from the perspective of the clerk. And the clerk is really young too. She's only like 19, and she is very disillusioned by what she's doing. She's not a fan really of the work, but you're starting to learn a little bit more about her. And you also learn that she is telling this story with some perspective, because she'll say things like, you know, now that I'm looking back on this, I can see that. It's so intriguing. So I am loving this. It's really good. This is going to be the first in a series, and if this turns out to be a great read, I am definitely going on to book 2. This is amazing so far. And then the second book that I am currently reading is this whopper, Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, which is the 7th and final book in the Throne of Glass series. I've been reading Throne of Glass, no joke, for 2 years, almost 2 years. I binge read the first 2 books at the end of December 2020. I kicked off 2021 with Air of Fire, went several months before reading book 4, and then I read the novellas right after book 4, and then it wasn't until the beginning of 22 when I finally picked up Empire of Storms. Read that back in February, recently finished Tower of Dawn, and now here we are. This has just been literally the longest reading journey of my life, but it has been a good journey so far. I've really loved my Throne of Glass reading experience. Book 5 so far is by far the best in the series. That is my favorite. Book 5, Empire of Storms, was just so good, but I also love Queen of Shadows. Air of Fire was really good because I think that just took the series in a completely different direction, and yeah, it's good. It's epic. Throne of Glass does have a pretty large cast of characters, but there's like a core group that surrounds our main character, and I love all of them. So I am just so excited to finally be on Kingdom of Ash and wrap this up. This is almost 1,000 pages. This book is 980 pages long, and I am only on page 39, just from where we left off in book 5. I already know that I'm really gonna love this book because book 5, the end of Empire of Storms, was like this really just really amazing like climactic moment, and then it just all went on pause because of book 6, because book 6 is following one of the characters in the main circle, but they are in a different part of the world because they're trying to accomplish something. So it's like the main action of the book just like was on pause after book 5, and now book 6 is done, and there is just an epic battle ahead of all of these characters, and I'm very excited for this. So far the whole series has been multiple POV, but now this is about to be like multiple POV on 12, because everybody is in different places trying to accomplish different things. I'm very excited. So that is Kingdom of Ash. I don't even know what I can say about Throne of Glass on book 7 without even giving a hint of anything away, but it truly has been an epic fantasy, epic reading experience. So I am loving this. I cannot wait to wrap up this series, and it's gonna be a good time. I think of all the books that I have left that I want to read for the month of August, Kingdom of Ash will be the one that carries over into September, because I think I'm just gonna take my time, but not too much time, not another 2 years. So now let's get into the books that I finished so far this month. The first is one of my favorites of the year, and that is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which is book 1 in the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy. Oh my God, this was so good. I can't get over this. I really cannot explain the feeling of like getting into this for the first time. This is just so fun. The magic system is excellent. I love our 2 focal characters in this, Vin and Kelsier. There is one character in the crew who started to grow on me as the book went on, but wasn't a big fan of the entire crew. But Vin and Kelsier and the magic system and just the scope of this plot, just in this book, I cannot believe I just had this book sitting on my shelf for so long without picking it up. This was amazing. This is a metal-based magic system, and we have some people in this world who can control one of the metals. There's like 10 essential metals, and if you can control one metal, you are misting. But there are people, very, very rare, who can control all of the metals, and they are called Mistborn. And you know, the different metals do different things, and just seeing that in action it has been like the highlight of my reading year so far. I'm telling you, this was so good. Our main character, Vin, she is starting to come into her abilities and being mentored by our other main character, Kelsier, who is this really experienced thief and trying to pull together this crew to complete the ultimate task of, you know, toppling the empire and getting rid of the Lord ruler. So that's very basic plot description, but I'm telling you, if you've been sitting on this, go pick it up. I am so glad I finally read this. It was excellent. One of my favorite reads this year. After I finished this, I really wanted to dump the rest of the books that I wanted to get through this month and just go right into the Well of Ascension. I don't know where the plot is gonna go, but the ending of The Final Empire, that just, it lets you know that, oh, we're just getting started. Like, that was just the beginning, and I cannot wait to see where this series is gonna go. So I am gonna wrap up my August books, and I will definitely be reading The Well of Ascension in September, because no way I can wait that long. And then next I want to talk about Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, which was a book that carried over from the tail end of July into the beginning of August. This took me forever to get through. The Final Empire is longer than Children of Time, and it took me way less time to read. I was reading Children of Time for almost like 3 weeks. This was my first experience ever with Adrian Tchaikovsky's work, and I really did enjoy this, but there were some parts of this that I just thought were really tedious to get through. So this, how do I even explain Children of Time? So in this we have, I was gonna say we have a dying Earth, but Earth is not dying, Earth is dead. You can't live on it. Earth is dead. So when the book starts, we have this character, Dr. Kern, and her team, they have this new planet, and they have the idea to drop monkeys on the planet along with this nanovirus to speed up evolution, and things just go horribly wrong. They do not go according to plan. The monkeys never make it to the new planet. Instead, the nanovirus makes it to the planet, and instead of infecting the monkeys, the nanovirus infects spiders. I will never forget, a couple of years ago I mentioned Children of Time was a sci-fi book that I really wanted to read one day, and I was very excited for it. And all of the comments that were in relation to Children of Time, because there were other books in the video, but all of the ones that pertain to Children of Time, people were leaving spider emojis, and I was like, well, this is creepy. I had no clue what this book was about, aside from obviously the description on the back. No clue that we would be following the evolution of spiders on this planet. That alone is just so fascinating. You're really following centuries of these spiders as they are infected with this nanovirus, and they're developing their own cities, their own culture, architecture, technology, and eventually religion. It's so fascinating. It's so thought-provoking. But the story is also split with another perspective. We have humans, and this group of humans, they have left Earth long after Dr. Kern and her crew, and they're on this Ark ship carrying the last remnants of the human species, and you're following them through time too, as all these years are passing, and some of the main characters are being put in and out of suspension, and the ship is not meant to be a generation ship. It's just meant to be an arc ship to find a new home to land on, and you're following them and just the desperation that they start to experience as they are running out of time to find a place for, you know, the human race to carry on. So it's really good. It's so thought-provoking, and I love that aspect of the book. It really has you rooting for the spiders after a while. When you get to a point when the humans and spiders start coming in contact with each other a little bit more, you're kind of rooting for the spiders because you're following their evolution too. So it is really good. But again, there are just some parts that I think just started to bog down the story for me a little bit. Like after a while, I just wasn't that invested in the human perspective anymore. I was just like, just get me back to the spiders. So I think the human perspective started to take me out of the story a little bit. But overall, this was an excellent piece of sci-fi. I do think I will continue on with the series. I think it's just a trilogy. I do think I'll continue on with book 2, but maybe not anytime soon. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm so glad I finally read this, and definitely will be reading more by Adrian Tchaikovsky in the future. I actually have like 3 of his books on my shelf. I have Elder Race, I have Shards of Earth, and I have one of his fantasy novels. I think it's called The Tiger and the Wolf, The Tiger and the Lion, The Tiger and something. It's all on my shelf. So I am looking forward to continuing on with his work, and yeah, it was a good read. And then next, you guys, I read Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This was excellent. I love this so much. I genuinely don't know what to tell you to convince you to read this. This is probably one of my favorite books that I have read so far in 2022. This is really dark, urban fantasy, paranormal. We're following like vampires, and it's set in Mexico City, and we have 2 main characters that we're following, but the story is actually split in like 4 or 5 different perspectives. But kind of the 2 focal characters that we have a vampire named Atul that we're following, or Atul? We're following Atul. And we also have this main character, Domingo, who is human. And Domingo just has my entire heart right now. Like, he is just the sweetest. He is a character that when you meet him, you already know that he's kind of lonely, and he just wants friendship so desperately. And Atul and Domingo cross paths, and it is just so good. But they cross paths, and you learn that Atul is actually being pursued by an enemy vampire clan, and Domingo will just like do anything to help her out and protect her, and he has so many questions. I love their relationship so much, and just learning about the different species of vampires, and it's so good. It is, seriously, it's so good. I love the dialogue in this book. I love the atmosphere of it. Atul is just such an amazing character. There was a moment in here, I think I tabbed it. I can't find it right now, but I think I tabbed it. And Domingo is talking to somebody else. I forgot if they're like a human or a vampire. He was trying to get something for Atul, and the character was saying something to him like, I'm paraphrasing really horribly. She was saying something to him that was like, you know, Atul is just gonna turn on you and all this kind of stuff. And Domingo, he looked at this woman and he said, she wouldn't do that. She's my friend. I shut the book and I was like, this is amazing. So I love these characters so much. Silvia Moreno-Garcia did something in 239 pages that some people can't do in 600. This was fantastic. And then finally, I finished Dread Nation by Justina, Ireland, and this is book 1 in a duology, and this is a zombie novel. And I enjoyed this. I didn't love it, especially towards the end. I was thinking like, things are happening a little bit too quickly, a little bit too conveniently. I wasn't the biggest fan of the main character by the end, but overall, this was solid. Like, I enjoyed this. I do recommend it if you're looking for something just, you know, in the zombie realm, something entertaining and fun, especially as we get into the fall season, spooky season. I think this would be a really entertaining read. So this is set in a world that is several years post Civil War. And during the Battle of Gettysburg, though, we have soldiers who started to reanimate into zombies, and they call them shamblers in the book. And so our main character, Jane, she attends this combat school where these young black girls, they learn how to train and kill shamblers. And eventually in the Baltimore area, there's not a lot of shamblers left because the girls have been going out for years and killing all these shamblers in the area. So there's not too many left. So instead they've been focusing their training on more so like how to be a lady and how to like be an attendant for these wealthy white people in the area who might need protection from shamblers. But eventually Jane, along with one of our other characters, they get sent out west, not like super out west to California, but I think it was like either Missouri or Kansas. I forgot where this was set when they leave Baltimore, but they get sent out that way to this small community where, you know, they have their own problems there with shamblers and trying to keep things safe. But at the same time, you start learning that these people, they have just the most ridiculous ideas about who can be infected by a shambler's bite and who's immune and all this kind of stuff. And it's completely rooted in racism, and it's just so ridiculous and outrageous, the things that they think. And even the main character is just like, are you serious? So you start learning a little bit more about that as the book goes on. And obviously a lot of the racism of the time and the discriminatory policies are infused into this story as well. Overall, this was a solid read. I wasn't a fan of some of the conversations that were going on in this book. And it's not like prevalent, but there were just, I think there were like maybe two that just kind of like caught my eye. And this was in conversation, like dialogue. There were conversations about like indigenous people, and then comments about like the main character's hair and all. Like, I don't know, it's just, I have no profound thoughts about it, but there were definitely some certain conversations that just kind of had me going like, I don't know about that. Will I be reading book 2? I don't know. You know where they're going, because at the end of the book we have a destination, so you know where they're headed, you know what needs to happen, you know who our main character is looking for. I don't know, I'm not quite there yet in terms of interest level, but we'll see. And then the last 2 books that I have here are books that I have not read yet, but are books that I would like to read before August is over. But if not, they'll just carry right into September. And this is going to be extremely brief because I haven't read them yet. First is Engines of Empire by R.S. Ford, and then the next is The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. So I'm very excited for both of these. In The Bone Shard Daughter, we're following the daughter of the emperor, and this deals in bone shard magic. And then this one looks really interesting. This sounds like the beginning of a family saga, and we have this, I don't know, we have this world that almost gives me like steampunk vibes. It has to do a lot with machinery and guilds. We'll see where this goes, but this has been on my radar for a very long time, since it came out earlier this year, and I can't wait to read both of them. And then of course the big one, which I don't have just yet obviously, is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I am counting down the days. This comes out next week and I am just so excited. Honestly, at this point I just want to finish up the Justice of Kings and then move into one or the other of these right here, and then when Babel comes out, I'm dropping everything. So that is it for me, you guys. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments how August is going for you so far, what you're going to be reading as we get into, or actually we're already in the second half of the month, but what you're going to be reading as we close out the month. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.